I almost didn't record this reading the way it came through because what landed when I sat with your energy today is not soft, it is not gentle, it is the kind of truth that arrives like a door swinging open in a room you thought was sealed, and suddenly everything looks different. Not worse, different, clearer. The kind of clarity that arrives after something breaks, not before. And if you are here today, if something pulled you to click on this reading at this exact moment in your life, I think you already know that something has broken, something shifted, something that used to feel like connection now feels like distance, and not a distance you created, a distance that was handed to you, pushed onto you by someone who, in trying to push you away, has no idea what they have just set into motion. Virgo. Someone really overplayed their hand this time. And I need you to stay with me through every word of this reading, because where this energy goes is not where you might expect. What begins as something painful, and I am not going to minimize the pain, I am going to sit in it with you. Before we move through it, what begins as something that hurt you is about to become something that transforms you. And the person who thought they were pushing you out of their story is about to discover that they pushed themselves out of yours instead. Let me start where this actually starts with you, with what happened. I feel in your energy the specific weight of someone who extended themselves genuinely, fully, without reservation, and was met not with reciprocation, but with resistance. And not the gentle kind of resistance, not the I need some space kind, not the I'm going through something kind. The kind of resistance that has an edge to it, the kind that makes you feel in a very specific and very painful way like too much, like your presence, your affection, your investment, your wanting, like all of that was a burden rather than a gift. And I want to speak directly to that feeling because I think it has been sitting in your chest like something heavy since this happened, and I think it needs to be named before anything else. You were not too much. You were exactly enough for someone who simply did not have the capacity to receive you. And there is a profound difference between those two things that I need you to hold on to. Because here is what I keep sensing when I sit with the energy of the person who pushed you away. This is not someone who looked at all of you and made a clear eyed, honest decision. This is someone who is afraid. Someone who, when things begin to feel real, when depth arrives, when something genuine starts to form, panics. Someone whose relationship with vulnerability is so complicated, so defended, so layered in old protection mechanisms, that the moment they felt something that mattered, their instinct was not to move toward it, but to destroy it before it could hurt them. And the way they destroyed it was by pushing you away, by making you feel unwanted, by creating distance so rapidly and so completely that you were left standing somewhere wondering what you did wrong. You did not do anything wrong. What you did was be real, and real scared them. I want to stay here for a moment because I think this is the part of the reading that some of you need to hear most. The part about what their pushing actually means versus what it felt like. Because the way rejection feels and the truth of what rejection is are very often two entirely different things. Rejection feels like a verdict. It feels like something was evaluated, and found lacking. It feels personal in the deepest possible way, like the most honest version of you was presented and returned. And that feeling is devastating. I am not going to pretend it isn't. I am not going to skip past it with reassurances and pivot immediately to the silver lining, because that is not how this works, and that is not what you need. What you need is for someone to sit with you in the reality of how much this hurt. It hurt because you were genuine. It hurt because you opened something in yourself that you do not open easily. It hurt because, Virgo, and I mean this about your sign specifically, you do not invest halfway. When you decide someone matters, they matter completely. You bring your full attention, your full care, your full analytical and emotional intelligence to bear on that person and that connection. You remember what they said 3 conversations ago. You notice when something is subtly off before they've named it themselves. You show up in the specific, particular ways that say, I see you, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet, consistent, unmistakable language of real attention. And when all of that is met with someone pulling away, with someone choosing distance over what you were offering, it doesn't just sting, it reaches something fundamental. I see that, I feel that, and I am not moving past it until I have said clearly what you felt was real, what you lost was real, and your grief about it is completely, entirely valid. Now, let me tell you what else is real, because this is where the energy shifts. This is where the reading moves from sitting in the weight of what happened to showing you what is actually in motion as a result of it. And Virgo, this is the part where I need you to pay very close attention, because something has been set into motion by this situation that the person who pushed you away did not anticipate, could not have anticipated, because to anticipate it, they would have had to understand your energy, and they clearly did not. Here is what I keep sensing about you in the aftermath of being pushed away this time. Something changed, and I don't mean a surface change. I don't mean you cried, you processed, you talked to your friends, you gave yourself a few days, and then cautiously returned to hoping things would go back to the way they were. I mean something deeper than that shifted, something fundamental, something in the part of you that decides how much access people have to your interior world quietly, permanently restructured itself. You reached a threshold, and once you cross a threshold like this one, you cannot uncross it. What I'm picking up is a quality of stillness in you that was not there before this happened. Not the stillness of defeat, not the closed down, shut off quiet of someone who has given up on feeling. The stillness of someone who has finally completely stopped chasing, stopped adjusting, stopped making themselves smaller or more palatable or more available in the hope that this time it will be received differently. That particular hope, the hope that if you just get the calibration right, if you just find the exact right version of yourself to present, this person will finally choose to meet you, that hope is gone. And its absence is not emptiness, its absence is space. And in that space, something new is beginning to settle, the knowledge of your own worth that does not require anyone else's confirmation to exist. I want to say that again because I think it is the most important thing in this entire reading. The knowledge of your own worth that does not require anyone else's confirmation to exist. That is what this painful experience has handed you. Not as a consolation prize, as the actual gift, as the thing that the previous softer version of this lesson was never quite able to deliver completely. This time it landed, and I feel it in your energy like something solid, like something that has roots now. Let me tell you what is happening on the other side of this, because the energy around the person who pushed you away is not what they imagined it would be once they created that distance. People who push others away usually have a fantasy about what the aftermath looks like. They imagine relief, they imagine freedom, they imagine the pressure lifting and space opening up and the complicated feelings becoming manageable now that the person who triggered them is no longer present. They imagine on some level that they will feel better once you are gone. They do not feel better. What I keep sensing in their energy is a specific kind of discomfort that they were entirely unprepared for. The discomfort of absence, of reaching mentally and emotionally for something that is no longer there, of having a moment, a funny moment, a hard moment, a quiet moment at the end of a day, and finding that the person they reflexively want to share it with is the person they pushed away, of realizing in the particular silence that follows losing someone who genuinely saw them, that being seen was something they valued far more than they allowed themselves to know while it was happening. They are sitting in that silence right now, and it is louder than they expected. I want to be very clear about something here because I feel it is important. I am not telling you this so that you can feel satisfied by their discomfort. I am not framing this as revenge or as karma in the punitive sense of that word. I am telling you this because it is the truth of what is energetically in motion, and because understanding it changes the position you are standing in right now. You are not the one who is hurting the most in this dynamic anymore. That has shifted. And the reason it has shifted is not because you have stopped caring, it is because you have stopped waiting. And there is an enormous difference between those two things that I think is worth sitting with. Does this land for you? Is this reaching something you've been carrying quietly? Leave me a comment below, even just a word, even just yes. I genuinely read every single one, and your presence in this space matters to me more than you know. Now, I want to speak to what comes next. Because the title of this reading promises that things are about to get interesting, and I want to walk you through what I actually feel when I sit with the energy of the coming days and weeks, because it is genuinely surprising. What I keep sensing is contact, a reaching out from their side. Not immediately. There is still some pride being managed on their end, still some internal negotiation happening where they try to convince themselves they made the right call, but the movement is already beginning. The resistance is already softening in ways they are not fully admitting to themselves yet. And what I feel very strongly is that when they do reach out, it will not be in the way they've reached out before. It will not be casual. It will not be the kind of message designed to test the waters without actually saying anything. What is building is something more honest than anything they've offered you before. Because the silence has done something to them. It has stripped away some of the armor. It has forced a reckoning with what they actually feel rather than what they decided they were going to feel. Um, and here is where it gets truly interesting, Virgo. You are not going to be the same person who receives that message that you were when they pushed you away. You are going to be standing in a completely different place internally, a more grounded place, a more certain place. And that shift in you, that new solidity, is going to change every dynamic of that interaction in ways they will feel immediately. You are not going to be reaching. You are not going to be relieved in the desperate way you might have been before. You are going to be measured. You are going to be clear. You are going to know, in a way you perhaps didn't fully know before, exactly what you require in order to move forward, and you are going to be entirely prepared to walk away again if those requirements are not met. That version of you, rooted, clear, unafraid of the outcome, is what they are going to encounter when they return. And it is going to be unlike anything they expected, because the person they pushed away and the person who greets them on the other side of that pushing are not the same. You have done something in this gap, something quiet and necessary and permanent. You have returned to yourself. I want to speak to something I feel very strongly needs to be addressed for some of you watching this, because I know that a portion of you listening right now are not sure whether you want them to come back. You have been hurt enough times, pushed away enough times, extended yourself far enough only to be met with that same resistant energy, that the idea of another cycle, even one that might look different on the surface, feels exhausting in a way that is very hard to explain. And I want to honor that completely. Your exhaustion is not weakness. Your hesitation is not pettiness. Your uncertainty about whether you want to open that door again is one of the most intelligent responses you could have. What the energy is asking you to hold on to is this: you do not have to decide anything right now. You do not have to know what you will say or do or feel when something comes through. All you have to do right now is stay in the place you have arrived at, this new ground you are standing on, this place of self knowledge and self worth and quiet, unshakable clarity about what you deserve. Stay there. Whatever comes, whether they return or don't return, whether you choose to engage or choose to move forward in a completely different direction, stay rooted in this place. Because this place is the most powerful position you have ever stood in within this dynamic. And the decisions you make from here will be the right ones. I feel that with absolute certainty. Because here is what I know about you, Virgo, that I want to leave you with as we close this reading. You are someone who has been learning slowly, sometimes painfully, through exactly the kinds of experiences this reading is describing, that you cannot love someone into being ready for you. You cannot show up so consistently, so caringly, so completely that it compensates for someone else's unwillingness to be vulnerable. You cannot be enough for two people. And the sooner that knowledge moves from your mind into your bones, which is exactly what this experience has been doing, the sooner you stop spending your extraordinary capacity for love on spaces that cannot hold it. Your love is not a problem to be solved. It is not something that needs to be managed or moderated or made smaller so that people with less capacity can keep up. It is one of the most remarkable things about you. And it belongs somewhere that recognizes that, somewhere that rises to meet it rather than retreating from it. That somewhere exists. I feel it in your energy as a real, specific, approaching reality, not as consolation, as fact. The person who pushed you away handed you something they didn't intend to give you. They handed you the final confirmation that you needed to stop auditioning for a role in someone else's life and start living fully in your own. And what your own life looks like from this new grounded place with this new, unshakable sense of your own value is something that is going to surprise even you. Things are about to get really interesting, Virgo. Not for the reasons you feared, for the reasons you've been quietly, stubbornly, faithfully hoping for. Your story is not over. It is not even close to over. It is simply, finally moving in the direction it was always meant to go. And the person who tried to push you out of their story has no idea that what they actually did was push you directly toward yours. Walk toward it. You are more than ready. If this reading touched something real in you today, if it named something you've been sitting with and couldn't quite put into words, please tell me in the comments. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me where you are in this. Tell me what resonated most. I am here. I read everything, and this community is something I genuinely treasure. If you feel like someone in your life needs to hear this message right now, please share this video with them. A like helps this energy find the people it's meant for. And if you're not subscribed yet, I would love to have you here for every reading that follows. Virgo, you are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to become because of it. And what you are becoming right now is extraordinary. I'll see you in the next one.